All right, it's good to be with you all. So last month we finished up the what component, and so today we're going to jump into the how component of ROS. So I'm actually going to read a couple paragraphs of the how component chapter from the book, and this is actually a story of me shifting from sort of the why and the what to the how component. Picture this. I'm trying to manage our portfolio of 20 units all by myself. I'm handling the leasing, maintenance, bookkeeping, and property management. And on top of that, I'm overseeing 2 full-time contractors, third-party property managing a commercial property, dipping my toes into vacation home investments. We had bought a couple properties in Gatlinburg, working on getting my broker's license. But wait, there's more. I'm also starting a residential brokerage business and managing our 2 agents, launching an oil and gas brokerage. Many of you don't even know about that, but we were in the oil and gas business for a little while. Getting my general contractor license. So I'm a licensed general contractor. Flipping a house. We were actually renovating a historic residential property right off West North Avenue, a couple blocks from our office here, and building 3 townhomes. So we were pouring foundations for the 3 townhomes just about a half a mile up the road from here. And if that wasn't enough, I got engaged during this whirlwind. My fiance and I, Shannon, as you all know, we're leading a small group at our church, teaching children's ministry at our church, and into a 3-year education program through our church as well. So super heavily involved in just about everything. So I put in the book, I said, just thinking about it exhausts me. By the time 2015 rolled around, my what started to come into focus. We launched our first private equity real estate fund, and that's what we do today. But it wasn't until 2018 that I had read Traction and really started to understand and implement the changes. We self-implemented EOS, and I began to set my sights on fully being in the visionary role. But then the key question came in: how? So as you guys can hopefully get a sense in that picture, we were doing like everything when we first started Burgo. I mean, literally everything: flipping houses, residential brokerage, oil and gas, building new construction. So EOS really helped us focus in on the thing that we should be doing. So in the same way, ROS helps us to prioritize the priorities in our life. And so I had kind of knew my what. I got clarity on my what, but I had lost the how. I didn't really know how was I actually going to move my life in that direction. So that's where we pick up today. So again, just a quick refresh on the 5 components of ROS. Anybody that's new or joining us, kind of for the first time in a long time. There are 5 components. Who, all about understanding your unique DNA. Why, understanding your purpose. What, really about aligning your life with your purpose, your passions, and your proficiencies. How, and that's where we're at today. It's all about executing on these rhythms, sort of these cadence of execution. And then when, that's going to all be about energy and how we actually leverage our energy. So again, today's session is the how component. It's all about rhythms of execution. And there's going to be a bit of a shift today in our ROS journey. So if you've been kind of following along throughout the entire year, you'll notice that the last 3 components are very philosophical. So we're talking about discovering our alignment. The who, the why, and the what, kind of tend to be very big picture and get you thinking really big about your life. Then once you've discovered that alignment, you shift to executing on that alignment. And that's really the how and the when components. So you'll notice a shift from the philosophical to the practical. Today's session hopefully is just going to be very simple, practical. It's all about goal setting. Here's how you set goals, and here's how you set rhythms to execute on those goals. So a little while ago, we actually launched a Zoom poll. This was in December of last year. And in the Zoom poll, we asked you the question: what percentage of your personal goals did you accomplish or will you accomplish this year? So this was last year, 2023. Just to share those results with you, a decent amount of you had actually said, well, I didn't actually set goals. And that's the blue bar here. And then the green bar at the very top is I accomplished all of my goals. And then everything in between is somewhere in between, either accomplished like 25%, 50%, 75%. So what I was really happy with is you all tend to set goals, and many of you actually accomplish the large majority of your personal goals. So here we are, almost a year later. We did a session on annual planning last year about setting goals, and I would love to know, how are you doing this year? So what percentage of your goals are you on track to accomplish this year? So I'm going to go ahead and launch a Zoom poll. I would just love to hear from you. If you didn't set any goals this year, that's fine. I'm not offended. We did talk about it December of last year, but maybe you're new and so you get a pass. But if you did set goals, how are you doing? We're here in September. We're almost 3/4 of the way through the year. Hard to believe that. Are you on track to accomplish most of your goals, some of your goals, none of your goals? How are things coming along? So looks like we've got the large majority of you in. I'll give another couple seconds here for the last few folks to chime in, and then I will share the results with you. All right, here come the results. So pretty interesting. So most of you have goals this year. That's great. In fact, the very, very large majority of you, only a couple folks said that they don't have personal goals this year. And one of you has actually already accomplished all of them, or already on track to accomplish all of them. That's amazing. Everybody else falls somewhere in the middle. Very normal. And I'll just tell you, me personally, I'm sitting right around the 75% mark personally, 75, 80% in terms of my goals for the year. Some are on track, some are off track, which I'll share with you here in a little bit. But you got kind of this bell curve where most of you are actually on track to accomplish 50 to 75% of your goals. That's really impressive. So most of you are on track to accomplish most of your goals. That's awesome. Now, regardless of where you are, I would love to know, what obstacles are you facing that are preventing you from completing your goals? So we all face obstacles. Again, here comes another Zoom poll, and you can check off multiple of these obstacles, but we all face obstacles on accomplishing our goals. That might be lack of clear direction or strategy, competing priorities or distractions, just overwhelmed by the complexity or the scope of the goal, unforeseen circumstances or emergencies. That happens. It happens to all of us. Maybe lack of accountability or support. Maybe the goal, you realized you got halfway through the year and you're like, you know what, this goal is not actually as important as I thought it was. Resources or tools that you might need, you just didn't have. Maybe you dealt with some health issues or some burnout throughout the year. That happens. Again, totally unexpected, but it happens to all of us. Maybe you found it was misaligned with your actual values, your long-term objectives, or something else. You can check off multiple. Go ahead and give you another couple seconds for you guys to get your responses in here. Just really curious to hear, what are some of the obstacles you're facing? All right, I think we've got just about everyone in here. I'm going to go ahead and share those results with you again. Wow, lots of different obstacles you guys are bumping up against. It looks like the most common obstacle responses are competing priorities or distractions. Makes sense. Unforeseen circumstances or emergencies also makes sense. And health issues or burnout. So again, those are very common. They're things that happen to all of us. And really every response here got at least somebody check that box. I saw something else's in here too. You know, if you're brave and you want to post in the chat what that something else is, would love to hear. But certainly any of those can come up throughout the year and can cause us to just be off track with our goals. So today we're going to talk about how to stay on track and how to accomplish those goals. That's what today is all about. So just to set a little bit of a vision for the how component, I wanted to first share with you how the how component relates to the why component. So in the why component, we talked about our life plan. And a part of that life plan is coming up with our life priorities. So saying, what do we care most about in our life? Well, if you think about how EOS works, your life plan is like your vision, right? It's like your VTO. And on that VTO, you have a 10-year target. Well, your personal life can be just like EOS, where you take that life plan and you go to a 10-year target, a 3-year picture, and 1-year goals. So the connection between your why and your how is like getting from your life plan to your 1-year goals. It's really all about getting to that next level of execution. Now, today's session, we're going to cover the first type of that execution. And here are kind of the 4 cadences of execution that are in the how component. They are annual planning, quarterly planning, weekly planning, and daily planning. So today we're going to talk about annual and quarterly, and we're specifically going to just zoom out and talk about goal setting in general. And then next session, a month from now, we are going to talk about weekly and daily. So before we do that, I just want to kind of make the argument to you all. This is really, what are the effects of establishing rhythms of execution for you in your personal life? And again, I'm going to draw the parallel between how we do this at Burgo using EOS. Same thing, how your personal life can be done exactly the same way using ROS. So the first effect that I've seen from kind of doing this is what I would call sustainable progress. So, some of you responded and talked about burnout or health issues or unexpected emergencies. That stuff happens. And so what I find is by setting these rhythms of execution, it allows you to not just make progress, but make sustainable progress. So even when things get tough, it's about putting one foot in front of the other and allowing these rhythms of execution to actually remove some of that mental energy that would otherwise be required if you didn't have these scheduled rhythms. So again, think about it, the way that EOS goes from your 10-year target, 3-year picture, 1-year goal, quarterly rocks to your weekly L10s. It's the same thing in your personal life. Start with your life plan and your life priorities and start to cascade down from there. And what that allows you to do is just align your life with your deeper values and your long-term vision. Again, that was something that became super apparent to me. I was doing all of those things, right? It's like I'm doing all these things at Burgo, but I'm also doing all these things on the home front. And it really required me to say, okay, what do I need to focus on? Like what really matters most to me, and to zero in and focus on that. So that's really what sustainable progress is all about. It's continuing to put one foot in front of the other, moving forward in the right direction. The second effect that I've seen of implementing these rhythms of execution is what I would call structured focus. So I'll be the first to admit, I struggle with focus. In fact, candidly, it's not just been a struggle. It's actually been ADHD for me has been something that has caused me to kind of not be able to really focus on one thing at a time. I've actually been reading this book called ADHD, A Hunter in a Farmer's World, and it helped me to really understand myself a little bit better. And one of the things that I realized is one of the symptoms of ADHD is not just, if you think of a hunter, you're like constantly scanning, but then you actually get hyper-focused on something. So if you've ever worked with me, you probably know what it means to deal with Andrew when he's like hyper-focused on something. For some of you, that might not be a very pleasant experience, but I've realized that I'm always scanning, and then sometimes I go into hyper-focus mode. So that's what ROS has done for me. It's allowed me to have that focus on my personal life, on my life priorities, and do things like prioritize time with my wife, prioritize time with my children. So it's not just about like adding something in my calendar, making it super formal. I need that focus. I need to like zero myself in and always have those things on my calendar, because otherwise my time will go to sort of the lowest value. I'll end up scrolling social media or something. And my time won't actually be connected to my priorities. So that's what I would call structured focus. It's taking, particularly for me, that lack of focus that tends to happen and getting it onto my calendar. The last effect of these sort of rhythms of execution that I would highlight for you is what I would call stable habits. Stable habits. So the thing with habits is habits are almost like the lead measures, whereas oftentimes the results that you're trying to achieve in your life are like the lag goals. So if those terminology don't make any sense to you, here's how you can think of it. A result is something that you can measure backwards. So, you could say, hey, at the end of the year, I achieved X. So, I lost X pounds, or I ran 10K, whatever that is, I've achieved some goal. Whereas a habit is often the thing you do to get there. So an example of that might be, okay, I'm going to exercise 3 days a week for 30 minutes at a time. Or I'm going to run every week 1 mile, and then, I'm going to increase that by 1 mile at a time every month or something like that. So there's this book called Atomic Habits, and it talks about how you have to make these habits almost automatic. So you want to create these habits so that you're just doing these things without thinking about them. And that frees up your mental space, as opposed to always thinking, okay, I need to get up, I need to exercise. You can do these things like, okay, if I put my clothes out the night before, my workout clothes, that will remind me when I get up to throw the workout clothes on and do my workout. So for me, these like stable habits have been critical for me accomplishing the long-term goals. It's all about those daily disciplined habits that actually help me to get the results that I want. So quick summary of what I would call the effects or the benefits of establishing these rhythms of execution in your personal life. Sustainable progress, and sustainable is the key word there, not burning yourself out, making progress in the right direction. Structured focus, if you're anything like me, you tend to be unfocused naturally, so it gives you that focus. And then the third is stable habits, really creating those atomic habits, those habits that are going to impact you, impact your life, the lead measures that are going to get you to the lag goals. All right, so with that, let's talk about goal setting. So goal setting is something I am super passionate about. The first time that I heard about smarter goals was in a coaching session back in 2019. And it just kind of blew my mind. It was like, hey, I've heard so many people set what I would just call bad goals. And this framework helped me understand, okay, what is a bad goal and what is a good goal? So smarter goals are, you've heard of SMART goals, specific. So it can't be vague. You can't say something like, I want to be a good dad. Cause that's just like, it's too vague. Measurable, it's got to be actually quantitative. There needs to be a number in there somewhere. Actionable, so start with a verb, not the word be. It's like, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to accomplish this, not just I want to be, a better reader or something like that. Risky, I'll talk about this in a minute, but actually outside of your comfort zone. Statistics show that when a goal is outside of your comfort zone, it actually makes it more motivating and exciting for you. Time keyed, so you want to establish a deadline. Now that could be, if it's an achievement goal, it's usually by this date. If it's a habit goal, it's I want to do these things at this rhythm. So time keyed could be either. You want it to be exciting. So like this has got to get you out of bed in the morning. You want it to be inspirational. If you look at your goals and you're like, oh, why did I set that goal? I really don't want to do that. It's just not a good goal. You want a goal that's going to get you out of bed and get you excited to do the thing. And then relevant. So relevant to your values, to your season of life, to each other. If you're setting a goal with your spouse, you want to make sure that it's relevant to each other. Like, hey, is this relevant to you as well? Or is this relevant to our season of life? Like if you set a really big goal that's like, you want to accomplish some really big physical thing, but you know that you're getting ready to go out on maternity leave or paternity leave for your first child. We just had somebody, we've had a couple of Berganites just come back from leave. that's not the best time to set this huge, gigantic goal for you to accomplish. Because as you who just went through this know, when you have your first kid, all you're thinking about is keeping that kid alive and keeping yourself alive. So it's got to be relevant to your season of life. So that's what the smarter goals are. I love this framework. Really start to think about that. Every time you set a goal, does it actually fit in that framework? All right, so we're also going to talk about the circle of control. So hopefully you all have heard about this. This was from a book that totally changed my life called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's 3 circles, and I'm going to go through an example of each circle. And this example is very timely because it's one that some of you may even be thinking about right now. So the circle of concern is this outer circle. It's the things that you're concerned about, but you cannot control. So maybe you're concerned about the outcome of an election, for example. You can't actually control the outcome of an election. And I'll talk in a little bit about what you can influence and what you can control, but you can't control the outcome of election. That is a lag measure that you can't control. It's in your circle of concern, something you're concerned about, but not in your circle of control. Now, in your circle of influence, these are things that you can influence, you can impact, but you can't control. So something you could influence, for example, might be telling your friends to vote and say, hey, election is in November. I encourage you to vote, right? You can influence your friends. But what can you actually control? You can actually control you voting, right? Like that's something you can control. You can go out and you can vote. So no matter where you are on the election, I know it's probably a little bit of a prickly example. Hopefully it sets the stage for what it looks like to set goals that are in your circle of control. You want to set goals that you can control. If you set a goal like I want to, totally get rid of world hunger, it's like, okay, you can be concerned about world hunger. You, unfortunately, I hate to break the news to you if you didn't know this already, you as one person are probably not going to get rid of world hunger. That is in your circle of concern, not your circle of control. What can you do? Maybe you could donate to a charity. Maybe you could take a trip to a place where, poverty and world hunger are more prolific and bring some food and serve people, right? Those are the things in your circle of control. So just think about that when you're setting goals. The other thing I found really helpful in setting goals is to actually set goals that are in what is called your discomfort zone. So your comfort zone is it's a goal you're really comfortable with setting. It's like, okay, I know I can do this, easy peasy. Let me set this goal. There's also this goal where you set a really, really hard goal that feels impossible. And we'll call that the delusional zone. That's like an extension beyond what you actually can do. And what they found, research proves this, optimal growth happens in your discomfort zone. It's where there's the best performance, where you're motivated and where you're encouraged and energized to do this thing. If you stay in your comfort zone, you have this slow, stagnant growth. And if it's in your delusional zone, it's just too far, too fast. You start to have defeatist mentality. You get frustrated. You're like, why did I set this goal? So the real magic happens in your discomfort zone. That's where you want to set your goals. All right, so I'm going to quickly go through the annual planning, and then I'm going to just talk to you about the new tool, which is quarterly planning. So we did the annual planning tool December of 2023. So you've seen this tool if you've been with us for something like a year, but I'm going to just quickly go through it for the new folks. Annual planning is something you do. My wife and I do it in December to prepare you for the next year. So what we do is we set a vision for the year. So in that vision, might talk about what does the year look like for me, then distill that down into 3 words. So, 3 words like visionary, family, and community. For me, those were the things I wanted to really invest in this coming year. And then you talk about how am I actually going to achieve that vision? So, what does it look like for me to rest this year? What does it look like for me to stay healthy this year? What are the relationships that I want to invest in this year? How am I going to unplug this year? where am I going to go this year? These are the things Shannon and I get super excited about, is planning our trips for the year. Where are we going as a family? We went to Canada as a family this year. It was a lot of fun. And then what do I need to achieve my vision for the year? And that's often, I need alignment and accountability from folks like my family, my friends, and my coworkers. So then we set goals. I tend to set anywhere from 8 to 10 goals for me personally. Shannon does the same thing. She'll set, 8 to 10 goals for herself. Doesn't have to be that many. In fact, I'm going to give an example of 5 goals. If you're not already in the rhythm of setting personal goals, I recommend starting with 5. You might say, hey, here's the 30 things I want to change. But research shows, 3 to 5 is a relatively good number to get started. For me this year, I wanted to complete the ROS book, launching a Burgo advisory board. It's kind of an advisory board to the CEO. Shannon and I are doing monthly lunches with our nanny, where we're going through this thing called positive parenting solutions. It was a way for us to brush up on our parenting kind of toolkit. I wanted to join a forum in this group that I'm a part of called YPO. It was my way of engaging in a community, kind of an accountability community. So that was something I was excited about doing this year. And then, I love my sort of physical life account hacks. So I wanted to do the Wim Hof app and get myself to be able to take a 3-minute ice bath. And actually get into the practice of doing at least a 3-minute cold plunge once a week. So those are the goals that I set going into this year. Those are 5 of my goals, I should say. I set a few others. So then comes quarterly planning. So every quarter, you should do 2 things: reflect on the past quarter and prepare for the next quarter. So the quarterly planning tool has you do both. By the way, if you have a full focus planner, you're using the full focus planner, these are built into that system. I'm now using the ROS planner, which we built in Notion. If any of you are new and you want to get access to that planner, we can get you access. We're also getting ready to start building out our own app, which we're hoping to launch later this year as well. But for now, we have this ROS planner built in Notion that you can use if you prefer electronic. If you prefer paper, the full focus planner is the way to go. So quarterly planning, here's what quarterly planning looks like. First of all, look over the past quarter. What are some personal wins that I can celebrate? What are some things that happened personally that I'm excited about? Then jumping into professional, what are some things that happened professionally that I can celebrate? What am I excited about? So for me, past quarter, took a sabbatical, finished the manuscript for the ROS book, and joined a YPO forum. Then you do a reflection on each of your goals. So the ROS book, pretty much on track. We did have issues with our original writer for that book. We had a writer that was helping out. We ended up having to part ways with that writer, but thanks to Kim and Ed and Josh and Shannon and Gina and everybody else that reviewed the book, we got back on track. And thanks also to ChatGPT. We got a book that I think is coming along nicely. So Burgo Advisory Board, I'm really excited about this as I move fully into the visionary role, full kind of CEO capacity. I wanted a board of other, CEOs that are kind of supporting and really like looking at Burgo, looking at our financials, poking holes in what we're doing and counseling and consulting me in that. So that's actually off track. I've got to really do what I'm calling develop the ask. I have had one person say they would be on the board, but I have to actually formalize what that looks like, and planning to do that this month. I wanted to get the book behind me first, so that's going to be my next priority. So anyway, I have three other rocks, 1 on track and 2 I've completed. 3 other annual goals, 1 on track and 2 other completed that I made progress on. So then you basically go and do some feedback. So you look at the past quarter and you say, what worked, what didn't work, what can I keep, improve, start, and stop doing? Now, this is actually something that Kim and I do together as a part of our quarterly rhythm. So every time we do a quarterly meeting at Burgo, Kim and I also do a quarterly rhythm where we're looking at feedback from the past quarter, saying what worked, what didn't, what can we keep, improve, start, stop. So just an example, things that didn't work, maybe, the writer delegation obviously didn't work. Advisory board procrastination, I'm procrastinating on that. some things that worked, really collaborating with the team. The team jumped in, helped out with the book. Accountability has helped. Monthly cadences have helped. Some of the habits we put into place have helped. Things to improve, got to continue to improve task delegation, the meetings, still a lot of meetings on my calendar, email processing, focus time blocks, things like that. And then at the end of that, I'll go through and just kind of check these boxes, do a life plan review, calendar review, meeting audit, task audit. And then what I like to do is every quarter, if I set 10 goals for a year, every quarter I like to pick 2 to 3 focus goals for that quarter. So I have rocks that are the things I'm doing in the business. And then I pick 2 to 3 focus goals for that quarter that are either like me working on the business or they're my personal life priorities. So those are the things that I do on kind of the life goals side of things. So that's the quarterly planning process. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. I know I went through that quickly, trying to get us out of here on time today with a lot of content, but just kind of quick recap of the 3 sort of effects, why I think it's really important for you to establish these rhythms in your personal life of setting and executing on goals, sustainable progress, structured focus, and stable habits. And so where do you go from here? Hopefully all of you have annual goals this year. If you don't, I really highly recommend you do annual planning in December of this year and set goals for next year. But it looks like the large majority of you already have goals for this year. So action items I would recommend that you do are schedule your quarterly planning session. So again, Kim and I do this just because I'm already in the headspace of quarterly planning. When we do Burgo's quarterly meeting, Kim and I do it that afternoon. Now I know a lot of you are with your departments that afternoon, but maybe the next day or a couple of days after or that weekend or whatever, just schedule some time on your calendar to do quarterly planning. And that's coming up, by the way. It's hard to believe we are less than a month away from our next quarterly meeting. And it's hard. I know Gabby's sweating over there. It's hard to believe that we have 1 quarter left in the year after that. I mean, this year has just flown by, but schedule it, get it on your calendar. And then what you're going to do is you're going to conduct a quarterly review. So that's the look back. You're going to celebrate your wins, review your goals, give yourself some honest feedback. How did it go? And then you're going to conduct a quarterly preview. So that's you looking into the next quarter, setting focus goals for the next quarter, thinking about what you want to accomplish next quarter. So Kim posted in the chat the quarterly planning tool. Just print it out and bring it with you, quarterly meeting or the next day or whatever is best for you. And give yourself a chance to check in on your goals, get them on track if you're currently off track, and finish out the year strong. We got 1 quarter left for you to accomplish those annual goals.